That's a doctor as in naturopathic doctor. That's ND after my name, baby, ND. And unless your doctor has an ND after their name, you should run the other way. When someone approaches you with a white coat, you should just say no, and you should run the other way as fast as is humanly possible. Better yet, go to fireyourmdnow.com. Click on the longevity button. Click on the online health recovery program. Get a subscription. Get informed and get your life back. I'm going to talk to Oregon now, to Marshall, who's been holding forever. Hey, Marshall, thanks for the patience. Thanks for calling. You are live.
Hi, thank you, Dr. Glidden. Yes, I was calling about my son that's gotten a bad case outbreak from poison oak, and was wondering what you might be able to offer or suggest as alternatives to the standard doctor solution of prednisone or other drugs.
Well, you know, the standard doctor solutions, they don't fix the problem. They just mitigate the symptoms until it goes away naturally, which poison oak or poison ivy will do. It has about a 14-day endurance time. And listen, man, I am the poster boy, the poster man now for poison ivy. I've gotten poison ivy a number of times in my life, really, really, really bad. I have a strong reaction to poison ivy, which is a kissing cousin to poison oak, and I have tried everything under the sun in order to manage the poison ivy outbreaks that I've had in my life, which were nasty, by the way. I mean, like bad, big bad voodoo daddy nasty, like bad, 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 bad. And the only thing that I've found that makes a dent in poison oak or poison ivy is an herbal tincture of something called jewel weed. Jewel weed, you know, like the gem, Jewell weed, jewel weed. The recommendation is to find some fresh jewel weed, and you can do that now because it's that time of the year. Put the plant in some oil, in some olive oil or some vegetable oil. Olive oil is best, and the oil will suck out the active ingredients of the jewel weed, and then you apply the infused oil of jewel weed topically to the parts of the body affected by poison oak. Now, you may be able to find a tincture or an extract of jewel weed already made up. My favorite herbal supply company in the United States is a place in Arizona called Herbal Vitality. Herbal Vitality. Do a Google search for Herbal Vitality. Give them a call. Tell them I told you to call them. Dr. Glidden told you to call them, and see if they have any jewel weed extracts. And if they do, apply it topically liberally. It's the only thing that I've ever seen that makes a difference, makes a dent. Now, you know, when the body is infected by a noxious agent like this, it's working overtime, and there are metabolic demands which are generated by the presence of the illness and all of the concurrent inflammatory and anti-inflammatory things that are happening inside the body. So, you know, the same way that if you were to go outside in snowy weather, which is a big stress, you wouldn't do that in your bathing suit. You'd bundle up and guard yourself against the stress. Well, in addition to coming up with a cure, you know, a treatment, a remedy for specifically the poison oak, it would be a good idea for your son to guard himself against the stress accruing in his body just from the presence of the illness. And so the recommendation there would be just our generic metabolic support program, which is one healthy start pack per 100 pounds of body weight per month, one bottle of selenium per 50 pounds of body weight per month. And because this is affecting the skin, we take some glucogel into the bargain. And the recommendation there would be either the liquid glucogel plus at one bottle per 50 pounds of body weight per month, or one capsule of the glucogel caps per 10 pounds of body weight per day. The glucogel will support and promote the structure and function of the skin. The other nutrients will just give him baseline, generic, kind of across-the-board metabolic support. And the jewel weed may give him topical relief and shorten the duration of the outbreak. And believe me, man, I've tried everything. You name it, I've tried it. I've tried homeopathy, I've done acupuncture, I've done every herb under the sun. I've done black tar, I've done the vinegar patches, I've done everything, man, because I've been dealing with this for, the better part of 40 years. I think I had my first poison ivy outbreak when I was 12 years old. So my heart goes out to him. Really, the jewel weed is the only thing that I've ever seen give anybody purchase. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, in the listening audience, I am in the market for a poison ivy fix, a poison oak fix. So if anybody in the listening audience has had direct, personal, no anecdotal second, oh, my cousin had a friend who had a brother who had a cat, I'm not interested in that. If you yourself have had direct personal experience with a remarkable resolution of poison ivy or poison oak, call me and tell me what it was, because I've been looking for you for my entire life. Wish I had better news for you there, Marshall. Does that kind of sort of answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Thanks for holding on for so long, Marshall. You're a trooper. Give me a call back and give me a report, because I like to collect data like this. Thanks so much for everything that you do, Marshall. I appreciate it. All right. So from there to, I guess we're going to stick around in Oregon right now and talk to Bob. Don't know what he's calling about. Maybe multiple sclerosis. Hey, Bob. Thanks for the call. You are live.
Yeah, multiple sclerosis. It's not for me. I have a friend that he's 29 years old, diagnosed within the last year, 18 months, and he's doing the standard MD treatment. But I was talking to him and told him I'd call you and I'd get the podcast to him and we'd see what you said about it.
All right, I appreciate it, Bob. I'm going to drop the call because we got bad background noise, but I'll tell you about this off the air. I appreciate your waiting. I appreciate your taking a stand for somebody in your community, somebody in your life other than yourself. And this is the type of people that you're going to be around in longevity, ladies and gentlemen. This is the type of people that you're going to be have access to when you hook yourself up to Longevity's wagon, people who look out for the welfare of other people. And that's a good group to be associated with, no matter how you slice it. Now, look, I've had multiple sclerosis patients in private practice that I've seen hardly any traction and any motion and movement from. I've met multiple sclerosis patients who've done alternative medical treatments and gotten 50% better, and I've seen multiple sclerosis patients who have gotten 100% better. And I don't know what the variation is there, and it wasn't a misdiagnosis either. Every one of these people, it was a definitive drop-dead diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. So all I can tell you is what we think is the genesis of the condition, our recommendations to support and promote the structure and function of the central nervous system. Have you get on board with the program. Keep your darn fingers crossed and see what happens. So, multiple sclerosis, from our point of view, is caused by oxidative damage to the central nervous system. Same thing that caused psoriasis in that other person, ostensibly, is causing damage, in this case, not to the skin, but to the central nervous system. And by the way, we are of the belief that multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, Lou Gehrig's disease, and one other that is not springing to my mind immediately, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, which I think is Lou Gehrig's disease, is all the same disease, just showing up in different parts of the central nervous system. It's oxidative damage to different parts of the central nervous system. Alzheimer's would be the other one. So what we do is, number one, eliminate the 10 bad foods. By eliminating the 10 bad foods, we eliminate free radical donors to the human body, which create oxidative damage. That's a good thing to do. Number two, we increase the body's own natural antioxidant called glutathione. The body has a built-in antioxidant. It's like the fire department of the body that goes around putting out the fires of oxidative damage whenever they show up. And in order to augment the action of the body's own natural antioxidant, which is glutathione, we give selenium. Selenium augments and recycles glutathione and makes the existing glutathione in your body much more effective. It's kind of like supercharging your engine, you know, like those race car drivers, they have the little canisters of NOS, you know, nitrous oxide, and they hit the button and nitrous oxide goes into the gas tank and the car takes off like a jackrabbit on fire. Well, selenium increases the effectiveness of your body's own natural antioxidant and makes it go like a bat out of hell and makes it much more effective. So selenium is mandatory here. And the third thing would be more consistent consumption of nutritional supplements and or food or drink, which themselves have high antioxidant properties. Now, antioxidants are measured by their ORAC score, O-R-A-C, and if we're dealing with multiple sclerosis or a condition of the central nervous system, we max out on antioxidants. The goal for daily consumption of antioxidants would be 100,000 ORAC points of antioxidants a day, 100,000 ORAC points of antioxidants a day. Now, there's some ORAC points in the Healthy Start Pack. There's some ORAC points in the Triple Treat Chocolate. There's some ORAC points in the Cell Shield RTQ. But you're going to have to make up the balance of your body's ORAC needs with food and drink. So switching from coffee to green tea, you get more ORAC. Switching from bananas to blueberries, you get more ORAC. Adding walnuts and cinnamon and curry powder into your diet, you get more ORAC. It's like that. You have to educate yourself about ORAC, the ORAC value, antioxidant ORAC score of different foods. Just do a Google search. And the last piece of the puzzle here is feed the body the stuff that the central nervous system is made out of. What's the central nervous system made out of? Cholesterol. So in this case, even Harvard University agrees with us. A diet that's 80% healthy fats is best. The easiest, cheapest, most economical way to get healthy fats into your body, chicken eggs, baby. 12 a day. That's right, 12 chicken eggs a day with butter and salt. Check that out. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. We're up against the hard break. Stick around, ladies and gentlemen. I'm taking your call. We're going to Arkansas when I come back. This is Fire Your MD Now. Oh, yeah, that's right. I've been looking for the poison ivy cure for my entire life, and I am on the warpath for it because let me tell you, poison ivy, poison oak is one nasty illness. They did some very interesting experiments. I know a lot about this subject. You can imagine, you know, with the way that my brain works. I've been all over this for a long time, and from every single aspect, I've read stuff about this. The homeopaths did very interesting experiments in the 1800s. They would take poison ivy plants. They'd grow them right in a botany place, in a greenhouse. And when the plant came to maturity, they'd put a glass jar around the plant, a big glass jar, right? A big glass jar over the plant, and they would collect the vapors of the plant in the glass jar. And then they would remove the glass jar, put a seal on the bottom of it, so the only thing that was in the glass jar were the vapors coming off of the poison ivy plant, and then they would stick some poor subject's arm inside the jar, just exposing it to the air that was in the jar, and that person would get a poison ivy outbreak. How about that? So there's something beyond the chemical that everybody, you know, thinks is the deal inside of the poison ivy plant, unless the chemical can become airborne in a gaseous state. There's something else going on with poison ivy. It's called a warrior plant. The Native Americans referred to poison ivy and poison oak as a warrior plant. There's something going on with those plants. I don't know what it is. And it's interesting. When you take poison ivy and prepare it homeopathically, when you make a medicinal substance out of raw poison ivy plant, it becomes a really great treatment for rheumatism and arthritis and a number of skin conditions like eczema. But it's not a treatment for poison ivy as you might think it is. But it's interesting. When you take a poison ivy plant and prepare it homeopathically, you alter the effects of the action of the plant on the human body. And homeopathically prepared poison ivy becomes a great treatment for arthritis, many different types of arthritis, especially an arthritic condition which causes a person to be restless. You know, people just get restless. Their joints ache so much they just got to move, and the more that they move, the better they feel, and then they sit down and they feel worse. And then at first they get up, and the first time they're moving around, it's like achy and breaky, and then the more that you move, the better it gets. And if a thunderstorm approaches, it gets worse. Wow, those are all indications for homeopathic poison ivy. Fascinating. The whole subject of homeopathy and botanical medicine is a really nice little interface there that, of course, conventional American medicine has completely whitewashed away. They don't even look at that stuff because they're all above and beyond that. Hoity-toity heads up their butt, medical doctors, Machiavellian ministers of doom. And yet I digress. Well, we have Mike from Arkansas waiting in the wings. Hey, Mike, thanks for waiting. Thanks for the phone call. You are live. How can I help?
Hey, I have a question about appendix.
Yeah.
And about 4 weeks ago, my appendix. I'm 63, and I've been on board with Dr. Wallach for about 13 years or so.
Good man.
And about 4 or 5 weeks ago, anyway, my appendix ruptured and abscessed.
Yeah.
And they went in and drained the abscess. I was in the hospital for a few days on antibiotics. And then I had about 10 days after I got out of antibiotics. And then they were wanting to go ahead and take it out here in the next week or so. And I asked my surgeon when I went in for my follow-up after getting out of the hospital, he says, well, we'll schedule you for, have it removed in 5 weeks. I said, well, do I have to have it removed? Is it bad now that it's healing up? And he says, well, I don't guess you have to. I've never had anybody ask me that before. So what I'm asking you is, does that appendix heal back up, or after it ruptures that one time, am I in danger of happening again?
Well, the surgeon would know best whether you're in danger of that happening again based on the extent of the tissue damage. It's kind of like, if you had a burn on your arm, if you had just a little burn the size of a quarter and it wasn't that bad, you would expect that to heal 100%. But if you had a 4th-degree burn that covered 90% of your forearm, you need skin grafts and all kinds of things to make that better. So the extent of the damage to the tissue from the rupture is the thing here. And if the surgeon was of the opinion that, well, I don't have to take it out, it wasn't that bad, then yeah, it can heal up. The body heals itself all the time. And interesting, the appendix makes a particular immune system cell. It's called the beta cell. And I'll tell you where that name came from after this hard break. Stick around with me, Mike. I've got more to tell you about appendix and appendicitis. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dr. Peter Glidden, and this is Fire Your MD Now. Stick around. 866-582-9933. That's the number to call to speak with me live. Lines are open. Right now we're talking to Mike from Arkansas about appendix. You still with me, Mike?
Yes, I am.
All right, very good. So there's an interesting little bit of history that I learned from Dr. Wallach. Man, Dr. Wallach's knowledge base, I got to tell you. There's part of the immune system. Immune system has a number of different cells that it uses to kill things and to regulate, your health. One of the components of the immune system is a cell called a beta cell. Beta, be like baby, beta cell. And the beta cells are called beta cells because they were first discovered in the bursa of a chicken. That's interesting. The bursa of a chicken, B-U-R-S-A-E, they were referred to as beta cells. The bursa of the chicken is the chicken's appendix. How about that? So your appendix creates a certain type of cell for your immune system called a beta cell, and most MDs are completely unaware of this because nobody told it to them in medical school, and because they haven't picked up a medical book since they graduated medical school, they're completely blind to this information, which is pretty important information. So most MDs are of the opinion that the appendix is just a vestigial thing that is evolving out of the body and that it doesn't have any real functional use, and they're wrong. It produces cells which are important for your immune health. So yes, I would save the appendix at all costs. But this begs the question, Mike, in the first place, right, why given the fact that you've been following Dr. Wallach for all of these years and being faithful with the nutritional supplements, why did you get a bad appendix? And I have some bad news for you. The main cause of appendicitis and appendix problems is consistent consumption of wheat, barley, rye, and oats. So this, of course, begs the question, have you been gluten-free or have you just been taking the supplements? What's it been like for you in the last couple of years?
I have not been gluten-free, but over the, for the past year, a little over a year, I've been minimal gluten because I had stage 4 base of tongue cancer.
Yeah.
About a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And by the time they got done radiating me, I can't hardly swallow. I don't eat much anything but eggs and beans and protein shakes. So.
Okay. Well, I get it. So you might want to look up. Where there's smoke, there's fire, right? We just need to be prudent moving forward so that we don't just fall into the same well that we just climbed out of, right? So wheat, barley, rye, and oats, they got to go, man. I mean, they got to go because those grains are, from our point of view, the most common cause of chronic inflammation in the gut. And, a little bit, depending on your sensitivity, a little bit of that stuff is just as bad as eating a ton of it a day. It's kind of like, you ever met a person who's been allergic to cats and they've got a really hyper allergy and they can be in a room and a cat lived in that room 3 years ago and they have an allergic reaction. And there's other people that are allergic to cats. They're perfectly fine if a cat's living in the same house as there, as long as the cat doesn't jump up on them, then they get an allergy. Well, I believe you, based on your symptom history, are the first type of individual that even a little bit of gluten is the big bad voodoo daddy for you. So my advice to you is just stop eating that crap completely, 100%, number one. Moving forward, it will serve you well. And number two, you might want to look up and see if the treatments that you were delivered for the tongue cancer have as a side effect appendicitis. Because, again, where there's smoke, there's fire, and you don't want to overlook the obvious. 100% of MD-directed therapeutics, even when they're beneficial, right? Sometimes, MD-directed treatments are good for you and necessary, and you need the surgery, you need the trauma care, you need the acute medicine, right? Whatever. But 100% of the times, because of the way that their medicines work on the body, there are side effects 100% of the time. So do a little research, man, on the internet and look to see if any of the therapies they delivered to you for the tongue cancer had as a side effect appendicitis. That would be a very interesting thing to understand, number one. And, notwithstanding that, if that's not a factor, then let's not overlook the obvious. The obvious here would be consistent consumption of wheat, barley, rye, and oats over time would just make this whole house of cards fall down. Now, if you want to get a little bit of a heads up on that, I put together a 16-minute video that's available for free on my website, which explains exactly why wheat, barley, rye, and oats are bad for you, how they're bad for you, and why they're bad for you. And, knowledge is power. I certainly don't expect you to stop eating stuff just because I tell you to, and I certainly don't expect you to stop eating stuff just because Wallach tells you to. You got to figure out why and understand why, and then you're all good. You're all good to go. You're all on board. So visit my website, man. It's free, fireyourmdnow.com. Click on the link to subscribe to my free monthly newsletter. You get a free monthly newsletter into the bargain. And when you do that, you'll be directed to a page that has a little video on it that I put together called Against the Grain. It's a 16-minute little short video. Check it out. I think the information there will be compelling to you. And moving forward, I wouldn't even look at wheat, barley, rye, and oats, man. I really wouldn't look at that stuff. Now, there's one more thing that you can do here. There is a homeopathic medicine that is a specific, over 90% of the time, for appendicitis, and you would probably benefit from taking a few doses of this homeopathic medicine now. Worst possible thing that can happen is nothing. The homeopathic won't do anything, but it can't aggravate anything and it can't hurt you. The name of the homeopathic medicine is Bryonia alba. You spell that B like baby, R like Roger, Y like yellow, O, N like Nancy, I, A like apple. Bryonia. Second word, alba. A like apple, L like Larry, B like baby, A. Bryonia alba. Homeopathic Bryonia alba. Try to find it in the 200C or the 200CK strength. Most health food stores will carry this. I don't know that you'll be able to find it in the 200C strength. You'll definitely be able to find it in the 30C strength. Whatever you can get it. Get it the 30C strength or the 200C strength. And the homeopathic medicines are dispensed in small little tubes about the size of your index finger. It'll cost about $10 for one tube, and inside the tube is going to be about 100 little white medicated pellets. They're about the size of a BB. The recommendation here, if it's Bryonia alba in the 30C strength, would be to take 2 pellets orally 4 times a day for a week. You just pop the pellets in your mouth and suck on them like a Tic Tac. If it's the 200C strength or the 200CK strength, take 2 pellets twice a day. If it's the 30C strength, take 2 pellets 4 times a day for 7 days. That could go a long way towards helping you to really get on the other side of the acute thing and help the appendix to heal in a more rapid sense. But really, man, don't neglect the gluten thing, because that's probably is the reason why the appendix went south in the first place. Does that make sense, Mike from Arkansas?
Yeah. Can I ask one more question?
Yeah, you've been waiting long enough, man. You're good to go.
Okay. This radiation deal on my neck, I mean, it's got all his muscles burned up in there.
Yeah.
And I got my limited motion in my neck and my swallowing. I take a capsule sometimes, it gets stuck and I got to re-swallow it. So.
Yeah.
And I was kind of searching for anything that might help the radiation damage, the muscle damage. And I found it in 2 places. I found it on your website, just a mention of it, and some other doctor that I don't recall had a full page about bromelain affecting muscle tissue damage.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Yeah, that's correct. Bromelain, and that's an extract from the core of a pineapple. It's an extract of the core of the pineapple. It has a lot of anti-inflammatory activity to it. So if you can find an over-the-counter nutritional supplement that's bromelain, then you are good to go. A longevity product that you could add into the bargain, which might be better, would be Z-Radical. Because the Z-Radical has in it extract of a sea vegetable called fucoidan. That's F like Frank, U, C like Charlie, O-I, D like David, A-N, fucoidan. There have been over 1,000 published studies, 1,000 published studies on the positive effects of fucoidan. One of the things that fucoidan does is it kills cancer cells, and it helps the body regenerate new tissue. It helps the body regenerate new tissue. That's pretty good. It's also a pretty good thing to help the body kill cancer cells. So this would be a double thing for you, to support and promote the structure and function of the cells that were damaged by radiation. I would get some Z-Radical from Longevity. It's a liquid. It's easy to swallow. And, man, if you can afford it, I'd do 4 bottles a month. That's a bottle a week. That would be what I would rather see you do the Z-Radical at this point in time than the bromelain, because I think you would get more traction from it, number 1. Number 2, it would be easier to swallow. And number 3, it's Dr. Wallach endorsed. And I got to tell you something, man. In the wonderful world of nutritional supplements, I mean, let's be honest, right? We can go on the internet now and we can find 100 different, vitamin companies, all who tell you that their stuff is the best, right? I mean, that's just the world. But from my clinical experience, working with real patients in real time with nutritional supplements that you can't even get over the counter, for 20 years, since I've been using longevity stuff with Wallach, honest to God, Mike, I don't know what planet I'm on anymore. because Wallach stuff works better than anything I've ever been exposed to. It really is the most effective nutritional supplement line I've ever seen. So if you're going to go big, right? And you're going to spend hard-earned money on nutritional supplements, you might as well get the good stuff. And in this case, Z-Radical would be the way to go. I forget how much it is a bottle, $32 a bottle, I think. Get as much as you can afford. I would start with 4 bottles a month if you can swing it. But listen, man, let's not overlook the gluten thing. Go to my website, subscribe to the newsletter if you haven't already. Check out that video, watch it, grok it, learn it. And moving forward, I don't even want you to look at gluten. No kidding. That stuff is like poison for your body. And thank God that you found a surgeon that's willing to just leave that appendix in, because that's going to serve you well, again, moving forward. But look, unless you stop eating gluten, it's probably going to happen again. So really, if you're going to keep the appendix in, then stop eating gluten. If you're going to take the appendix out, then stop eating gluten. Either way, you have to stop eating gluten. And when you do, you're going to feel a million times better. Just trust me on this. Take the plunge. Go gluten-free. Give me a call back in 4 weeks for the report. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate your wait. I appreciate your trust and your confidence. And thank you for supporting Dr. Wallach in his mission for the better part of a decade. You are the man in Arkansas. I appreciate everything that you do down there. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. You know what time it is. We're coming up to the last 5 minutes. Check out the website, fireyourmdnow.com. Click on the longevity button and join my team of health and wealth builders. I'll look forward to seeing you on the internet. Stick around. I'm back after these messages. Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully we've learned a lot on today's show. We've run the gamut here. We talked about multiple sclerosis. We talked about poison oak. We talked about appendicitis. Oh, man, we've been all around the block. One more thing I'd like to add to the antioxidant conversation for the multiple sclerosis guy in the truck. When you're listening to the podcast, I hope you listen all the way through to the end. So what we do here, right, when we're supporting and promoting the structure and function of the body, when we're dealing with an illness of the central nervous system, which is, you know, the brain and the spinal cord and the nerves that come out of it, well, we give the body the stuff that the central nervous system is made from. That's cholesterol. It's interesting, don't you think, that 75% of the central nervous system, your nerves and brain, are made from cholesterol. Don't you think it's interesting that 95% of the part of the brain that's affected by Alzheimer's is made from cholesterol? Don't you think it's even more interesting that since the advent of cholesterol-lowering statin drugs, Alzheimer's has skyrocketed? Think there's a connection? Yeah. Well, we do. We believe that Alzheimer's is caused by statin drugs, but the MDs will never cop to this because they have their heads so far up their rear ends they can't even see daylight, number one. And number two, they never, ever, ever admit that they're wrong, even when they kill people. For goodness sake, 12 women a day die because of prescription pain medication dosing, and MDs continue to give prescription pain medication. They are 100% Machiavellian, ends justify the means, unapologetic killers. You know, like James Bond, they have a license to kill. They get away with it all the time. And, you know, James Bond might be a good guy, but the medical doctor is not, because their therapeutics are the leading cause of death and the leading cause of bankruptcy here in the United States. It ain't that much better in Canada. It ain't that much better in Europe. We're dropping like flies without reason, because healing is within your grasp. So, to complete the conversation for supporting and promoting the central nervous system in the face of a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis, it's a diet that's high in cholesterol. And the easiest way to do that is the chicken egg, because the yolk of the egg is high in cholesterol, right? So have eggs and butter, not margarine, butter. Make sure you put salt on those bad boys so you can digest them better and more easily. And also you get cholesterol from turkey skin, from chicken skin, right? From rare meat, from cheese, right? From full-fat milk, full-fat yogurt. So don't be afraid of cholesterol. if you're suffering with a central nervous system disease, it's your friend. Harvard University confirms that cholesterol consumption for Parkinson's disease is a good thing to do, and they recommend a diet that's 80% fat. So, you know, cholesterol, plus the 90 essential nutrients, plus selenium to optimize the body's natural antioxidant glutathione, and then antioxidant consumption to top it all off in the face of a chronic illness like this to an excess of 100,000 ORAC points of antioxidants a day. Arguably, the easiest way to get that is with the Triple Treat chocolate. That's 17,000 ORAC per piece. So if you did, let me do some math here. If you did six pieces of chocolate a day, you'd hit the mark. 6 pieces of chocolate. That's a tough prescription, isn't it? That's the Triple Treat chocolate, not the Triple Truffle chocolate. If that's outside of your budget, then just do as much as you can and make up the rest with green tea and curry powder and cinnamon and walnuts and dark-skinned fruits and red wine instead of white wine, whatever. You can do it. You have to educate yourself about it. And you thought your MD was going to help you educate yourself about it. But I got news for you. They don't want anything to do with education. They don't want anything to do with healing. All they're concerned with is disease management through the delivery of man-made, synthetic, for-profit pharmaceutical medicines, which don't work. Ladies and gentlemen, fire your MD today, fire your MD tomorrow, and get everybody in your life to do the same, and get everybody in your life to tune into this radio show, especially if you know how to fix poison ivy, because I'm on the bandwagon. Until we meet again, I remain your steadfast advocate for health, your friendly neighborhood naturopath, Dr. Peter Glidden, encouraging you to fire your MD now and every day, and visit the website of the same name. That's fireyourmdnow.com. I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you so much for listening. Dr. Glidden, over and out.